Hello, so this will be a slightly different type of video today. One where I'll just be talking and not playing. But we have some very exciting preliminary news for The Sims 4, which is near and dear to my heart, and it has to do with customizable pronouns. And as a multilingual, non-binary person, this is very exciting, and I want to go over what the Max's team has said, and I'm going to be using this post by the Sims community, which has like a typed up version of the live stream so that we neither of us have to watch the whole, like whatever 2-hour live stream. Or I bet the pronoun bit was only I don't know, like 15 minutes or whatever, but still, we're using this post. Alright, so what we know, the team mentioned that they collaborated with GLAD, It Gets Better, and EA's localization team experts to learn why customizable pronouns are important. GLAD is an American non-government media monitoring organization founded as a protest against defamatory coverage of LGBT people. So it's cool, according to Wikipedia. Very appropriate to collab with them on a thing that is, media and queer. So I'm not going to go through everything, like line by line, but I will link this post in the description if you want to go read the thing yourself. And I believe they also have the link to the live stream, which you should also be able to find on Twitch, I believe. But anyway, so they mentioned that they had kind of announced that they're trying to do customizable pronouns, which is very cool. In a update, I don't know, ages ago, years and years ago, they added customizable, like gender customizable options. So in The Sims 4, you have masculine and feminine? Yeah, definitely feminine. You have masculine and feminine frame Sims, but you can choose whether your Sim can become pregnant, get others pregnant, or neither. So you can make like binary trans Sims. You could in principle make a non-binary Sim, and people have, but in-game they're referred to with binary pronouns. So this is something that the team is trying to change, which is really cool. Something I have noticed here is we have Ray Sweet, who uses they them pronouns, which is very exciting, and that they have started to put pronouns in the like little Twitch bit, so you can use the correct pronouns for the correct person. One of the things Ray mentions is that incorporating gender-neutral pronouns doesn't just automatically get rid of every bias that you may have. That's a long internal process, and there's a difference in memorizing pronouns and unlearning gender-binary, gender roles and expectations, and understanding the complexity of every human's identity, expression, and experience, which I think is a valuable point. But adding more than she and like she, her, hers, and he, him, his pronouns into the game is a very exciting step. They do mention that adding pronouns doesn't make it 100% gender neutral. They mention that they have the selection for male and female Sims, or really like masculine and feminine frame Sims, which does kind of impact how clothes kind of sculpt to the body, if that makes sense. Some pieces that are designed for feminine frame Sims look kind of wonky on masculine frames, and vice versa, although I think a little bit less. But they're still important. Pronouns, that is. It Gets Better works with Youth Voices, which is a group of LGBTQ plus folks ages 13 to 18, and some of them play The Sims, which is very exciting. And Ray talks about the first time that they tried on they them pronouns and was able to recognize himself in the mirror, which is, awesome. And I can definitely relate to that. And Rachel Gilbert, who also uses they them pronouns, points out that they like to use The Sims as an escape and to play around with their gender identity, and no one's going to be weird or discriminate against me. And that is also something I really like about The Sims. There are some mods where you can add like identities and like homophobia and stuff if you would want to do that. Like you can add like gender preferences and whatever. But I actually really like in The Sims 4, like vanilla, I guess, where it's just like not an issue. You can kind of flirt with any sim and like gender's just like not a factor. But obviously that's a personal preference, but I really appreciate it. So the next section they talk about is linguistic considerations of bringing customizable pronouns to The Sims 4. And as someone who speaks Dutch at like a 12-year-old level, but still, I can get around. I can function, and is currently learning Portuguese, and is non-binary. There's not a particularly easy way to avoid misgendering myself in either of those languages. So it's not a negligible like question of how to bring in customizable pronouns to The Sims 4, and especially in languages that aren't English. Because with English, like, they has been for a long time used as a kind of neutral, a gender-neutral single pronoun, and then it's also used as a plural pronoun, right, for many people. But in other languages, you don't really have that, and necessarily in the same way. Different languages have different grammatical issues and how they like deal with the gender. So example, and they use the example of the adjective perfect. So in English, you can say they are perfect for a single non-binary person who uses they them pronouns. But for other languages, it doesn't work in the same way. So they use the example Spanish. There's no gender neutral for the word perfect. It's either perfecta or perfecto, with like feminine and masculine respectively. Other languages often have gendered plurals. So for example, in Polish, the pronoun for a male or mixed gender group of people is, and I'm really sorry, I don't speak Polish, adielni, and for a female group of people is idealne. But either way, the end of the word actually changes. And that's true of a lot of Romance languages as well. So they really had to get language and culture specifically. So for example, in Swedish, they have hen, which is an officially accepted and read to use non-binary pronoun. Other ones aren't in the dictionaries or recently accepted into the dictionaries. They say that some countries such as Germany, Spain, and Brazil, communities have started using non-binary grammar in the syntax systems. I haven't found that when I was learning Portuguese, so if anyone knows how that works, I would love it. They're not officially accepted, but they are being used kind of as a society at large. And then on the other side of the spectrum, they say that we have territories with strict regulations and laws, and that they're trying to use, like the Sims team says that sometimes you can use passive voice to avoid that, or only using a name, for example. Passive voice would be, in English at least, instead of saying they sent me a letter yesterday, you can say the letter was sent yesterday, which kind of avoids the subject, or you can kind of use their name. So there are workarounds to add like more gender neutral language into languages that aren't necessarily built that way, but it's definitely like language specific. Sim Guru Duck mentions that for the first iteration of this pronoun feature that they're adding, they're going to be focusing on English, but they're going to be adding other language support as they continue to update and improve the feature over time. And then we come to the exciting bit, which is the concept art essentially that they have of the feature in CAS, which is Create a Sim. So up here in the current iteration of the game, you have hello, my name is, and then ... and you can click on it and then type in a name or randomize the name. But now it's going to change to be, or their concept at least, this is all still very much in the work, but it's going to change to hello, my name and pronouns are, and Sim Guru Felix mentions that they did this because he feels that in real life this is how we generally introduce ourselves. At least it's becoming more common to introduce yourself that way, and it's a very reasonable way to introduce yourself, at least I think. I don't know, I don't always out myself immediately upon meeting people, but maybe that'll get better as the years go on. But anyway, so here we have Jesse Apple, that's their name, and then pronouns. And so here in English, by default, they have they, them, their, she, her, hers, he, him, his, and a custom. And for the custom pronouns, you can type them in. So Z, Zir, Zirs. So Z loves The Sims. I told Zir about The Sims. The Sims is Zirs to make sure it's grammatically correct, which is cool, especially if you're not as used to maybe having neo pronouns, to have it in a grammatical sense to make sure that the order is correct. And then you can see after you confirm it, click the check mark, you can see the name and then pronouns, which is really cool. So this is the general idea that they have. Obviously it's a work in progress, and then they are also working on making a balance between the profanity filter and the custom pronouns, which I think is really cool. So if you add a sim to the gallery, you can't have any profanity in their names, which includes in their names, which makes sense, but also sometimes is accidental. I remember I randomized a name, or I added a townie to my household, and then I tried to upload them to gallery, and then the game was you have profanity in there, and I was like, what? But it was a bunch of letters, SHIT, bunch of letters to make a whole name, and I was like, ooh, rip. Yeah, that was not intentional on my end at all. But yeah, so I appreciate that they kind of mention that they're trying to work through how the profanity filter will deal with that, because sometimes it can be accidental, and that's not something that I would have thought of. There's no real date on here in terms of when this feature is going to be implemented, but they're continuing to work on it. Alright, so that's kind of what we know. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the things that I think that they could add. So I am a non-binary person, but I'm not gender fluid, so I exclusively use the pronouns they, them, theirs. So this feature, as they currently have it, would work great if I want to make a self-sim for me. But I know that there are folks who are gender fluid, or gender queer, stuff like that. And I think that it could be really cool to add multiple, so if you want to have a sim who was gender fluid between she, her, hers, and he, him, his, to have custom pronouns, then you have he, him, his, and then 60%, or she, her, hers, 40%, of the time. And then you could have kind of randomly it changed or something like that. Or when you click on your sim when you're playing them, you can make them like jog and stuff. But I think it would be cool to have an option there if you have like multiple pronouns assigned to them to be able to choose. So you could have a gender fluid character who like it's like completely random, or you want to like choose it, so you have like something like that. I think that would be really cool, and I think that would still be fairly functional with the like grammatical limitations, so you're not having like craziness sentences that are not correct grammar. If you just had like a percent of time, and then you could also really have some very fun like dynamics, like maybe if you had a sim who was like gender fluid between she and they, so you had like they had more like feminine, like if you in Create a Sim made a bunch of feminine outfits, right, and then you also, but they were gender fluid, so then you also had more like androgynous or masculine or just like different outfits. Maybe they're still feminine, but like different. But yeah, I think adding the custom pronouns thing is super cool. They mentioned that the pronouns appear to her name, and then this would generally appear in live mode where there's tooltips or any other notifications that refer to just use these pronouns. So I'm not entirely sure if that means that when you hover over like another sim, you would also get their pronouns. Which if they did that would be cool. Although kind of wild. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's something you could ask. It'd be cool if they had like an ask your pronoun feature. I don't know. I'm like back and forth on that. It'd be cool. I'm like down to kind of see like their names and their pronouns immediately. It just feels a little bit like they're on Zoom with that. But maybe it's a good way. Or if you like ask their pronouns and then in their like sim profile, you could have like see their pronouns, like how you would see their traits or their career. But yeah, I'm like super excited for this, and I think this is very, very cool. And they seem to be working really, really hard to make this respectful and inclusive, which is awesome. Now we just need some more clothes for masculine frame sims that don't look weird and are also not boring. Or actually maybe they should be more boring. There's a weird amount of lack of basics in The Sims 4. Anyway, point is, very exciting pronouns. But yes, I think that if you could add multiple pronouns or multiple sets of pronouns with like a percent feature or a way to change between the two or more of them or something, I think that would be really, really cool. I hope you found this interesting. I'm pretty hopeful about this. The Sims team seems to be trying really hard to be respectful of languages and the queer community and non-binary folks and everything that's under that. Yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I think this is very cool and I'm excited. Let me know if you like this sort of like news video. I'll probably mostly stick to like Let's Plays and building, but this seemed especially relevant to me. So yeah. Remember to like, subscribe, do all those YouTube-y things, and I'll see you all soon. Metaphorically.